Man, Mario RPGs are the best. They really hold special places in my heart due to the way they're able to greatly expand upon the characters and stories in the Mario world. The fact that Nintendo remade two classic Mario RPGs within less than a year of each other is already crazy as is. It's too bad they haven't been able to complete the trifecta yet with Mario and Luigi coming back. Wait, what?
This isn't real life.
Nintendo has really been outdoing themselves in the Mario department for this past year, but the fact that they've decided to revive three separate Mario RPG titles, all within less than a year of each other, is totally insane. Mario RPG being a one-off title, whose universe almost went entirely untouched after the original SNES release outside of small cameos in games like Smash Bros. Then Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door of all games being remade after years of Paper Mario straying away from the more traditional turn-based RPG ideas. And it's the one title most fans consider the best in the series. Now, as of the June 2024 Nintendo Direct, Mario and Luigi is officially back with a brand new title. The very first one on a home console at that. With the internet being more prevalent than ever before now, it really does feel like Nintendo is listening to fan demand through social media more than they ever have. With these three series being revived feeling like pretty blatant evidence for that fact. So I wanted to talk a bit about the journey these respective series went on and what may have led to Nintendo deciding to revive them all so close together like this, because this feels kind of intentional to me. Super Mario RPG is literally the first RPG game to star Mario. Game title basically spells that out for you. It being quite popular at that, it really stepped outside the box of traditional Mario gameplay at the time, not just because it was an RPG, but it was a game that didn't have Bowser as the main villain. He actually joined your quest to take down the real bad guys, the Smithy game. Same for Peach. It was a game that was clearly very inspired by Final Fantasy games at the time, to the point where they even included a Final Fantasy themed optional super boss. People ate this game up too, selling around 2 million lifetime sales, which is pretty solid for an SNES game at the time. People grew very attached to the new cast of characters, especially Geno. Geno's popularity was so huge, in fact, that it became a prime candidate to join the Super Smash Bros. Roster. Sadly, despite the decent fan demand for him, the poor guy never officially got in, but Sakurai and the other devs did at least acknowledge the love for Geno to an extent by giving him his own Mii Gunner outfits in both Smash 4 and Smash Ultimate. It was clear there was a very dedicated fan base to not only Geno, but for the game as a whole. One strong enough to withstand the test of time for over 20 years. Part of me thinks Nintendo was aware of not only the pre-existing fans of the game, but the potential to tap into a brand new market that hadn't played the game at all. I mean, let's be real here, the Switch life cycle has been Nintendo's most financially successful cycle ever. There's no way the majority of Switch users have played this SNES game that came out in 1996. It's just not a thing. Then came the remake on the Switch, a remake that did not disappoint either. Story stayed the same, but the graphics improved tenfold. Finally, Geno in HD. We got pre-rendered cutscenes for certain story bits, as well as for when you use new super moves, a completely remixed soundtrack, and even extra post-game content a la boss rematches with noticeably enhanced difficulty. It felt like this was now the best way to experience the Mario RPG story. Reviews and sales also kind of speaking for themselves, the game averaging an 84 on Metacritic, which, to give you an idea of quality if you haven't played it by any chance, is 2 points lower than Luigi's Mansion 3, my personal favorite from the trilogy if you care. Already outselling the original within the span of 3 weeks of its release, sitting at 3.31 million sales worldwide as of March 2024. Needless to say, this game was a pretty big success. Due to Square Enix not being directly involved with Nintendo anymore, this remake was actually developed by Artie Piazza, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, who's collabed with Square Enix on Dragon Quest games before. But according to the Mario wiki here, the Mario RPG remake is the first Mario game they've had any participation in, and they did an insane job for a first try. Maybe an actual sequel for this game may not happen, but I'm still optimistic toward the idea. If Artie Piazza wanted to take a crack on developing a Mario RPG game from scratch, I'd be very curious to see where things could go in that regard. Now, when it comes to Paper Mario, it's arguably had the roughest road out of the main Mario RPG series, especially when it comes to how YouTube and Twitter react to some of those titles. Starting off super strong with both the original and Thousand Year Door, things started to get a bit questionable for the fans once Super Paper Mario came out. While still having a very engaging story like other traditional RPGs, the gameplay was almost entirely 2D platforming with very little strategy involved when it came to defeating enemies or bosses, and some people just didn't like that. Despite this, the game still sold well, being the most sold Paper Mario game to date and the only one to pass the 4 mil range as of now. It's what followed that sent things downhill. Obviously, Sticker Star blows total ass, not gonna spend too much time digging at that game because I feel like every other Mario / Nintendo channel out there has said enough about this game that whatever I say will just sound like a broken record. There was just zero excuse for the game to be that soulless, and Paper Mario fans were not thrilled one bit, and kind of rightfully so. Color Splash just added fuel to the fire fire by being a pretty tried and true sequel to Sticker Star gameplay-wise. Next to pointless battle system, lackluster story, and no unique NPCs or partners outside of Huey. Color Splash being the worst sold game in the series, just barely passing 1 million sales, which for Wii U standards actually isn't too terrible considering how that console lasted on the market, but still kind of on the lower side for the previous Paper Mario standards we'd gotten used to at the time. Origami King improved in a lot of ways for sure, structuring the world and map much better to make everything feel a lot more connected to each other like the first two games' worlds were. Problem was the ring battle system was extremely hit or miss for a lot of people. Every battle just being one big puzzle to solve isn't everybody's cup of tea, which is fair. Plus, once again, next to no unique NPCs outside of Olivia, Ollie, and I guess the Legion of Stationery, the last thing being just sentient office supplies. Yeah, their boss themes are amazing, but they're still just tools with the King Ollie logo on them. You can't really get attached to a character design like that, in my opinion. This game's improvements, combined with it being on a much more marketable console, allowed it to be the second best-selling Paper Mario as of right now, just under 3.5 million. Even still, the fan base was still kind of torn on this game. The people who liked it still missed the quality of that games like Thousand Year Door were able to deliver. So Nintendo actually gave in, remaking Thousand Year Door potentially from scratch, adding tons more personality to the game with some new stuff like the Prince Mush and Whack of Super Bosses. The love I've seen for this game is unreal. Only aspects where people have been mostly critical about are the FPS drop or people being weird about Vivian being trans. The latter being something that was already in the original Japanese version, which makes the rage towards it even more insane. The idea of a new Paper Mario title going back to a non-Thousand Year Door formula on the Switch's successor does frighten me, especially after this game has been showered with so much positivity. But because of this positivity, it'll hopefully be a very unlikely outcome for Paper Mario to go back to that style. Clearly the devs are able to use unique NPCs now as opposed to apparently not being able to do that during the Sticker Star to Origami King era. There's no worldwide data for the sales in this game now, but hopefully this can at least match the sales of Origami King as a way to tell Nintendo this is what we want more of when it comes to Paper Mario. Finally, Mario and Luigi. This was one of those series where I missed it, and of course it would have been nice to see a new entry, but also I was kind of coming to terms with the idea that it may never happen again because the original development team, Alpha Dream, filed for bankruptcy shortly after the Bowser's Inside Story remake came out. These guys were in unbelievable debt, had cruddy working conditions, and it felt like they might have been strapped for ideas because they released 2 remakes in a row before getting a chance to make a brand new Mario and Luigi title. But even before then, at least in my opinion, the quality after Dream Team came out started to dwindle. If you want to see a more in-depth breakdown about Alpha Dream's downfall, be sure to check out this video by Lizardy. It's worth the watch for sure. Bowser's Inside Story was the series' peak for most people, both in terms of popularity and sales. Being able to play as Bowser and the Bros separately was a genius idea that still holds up to this day, gameplay-wise. Dream Team tried to do a lot of what Inside Story did and pulled it off decently well, but it didn't hit quite the same. Like the Dreamy sections having the same backgrounds or environments as the outside world didn't help much, as opposed to Inside Story having the unique environments of Bowser's Guts and the Mushroom Kingdom areas. Pacing for Dream Team wasn't the best either. It felt like the game took way too long to beat even when you're not going for 100% because it was very tutorial heavy. I know it sounds like I'm dogging on this game a bit, but I do actually enjoy it quite a lot. Paper Jam is where I started to lose interest because it took a concept that was so cool on paper, no pun intended, and just didn't execute it very well. Paper Mario and regular Mario actually working together could have been insane, but the problem was this game was released during the Sticker Star era, so all the unique NPCs that Mario and Luigi always had were gone too. I couldn't stand those toad chasing missions either. Those made me almost not finish the game initially, honest to God. Superstar Saga Remake was okay, but Bowser's Inside Story was completely bastardized. One of the weirdest decisions was how the Superstar Saga Remake ran at 60, but Bowser's Inside Story on 3DS didn't. If you know me, I'm not usually one to care about FPS too much, but the fact that both these games were released on the same system and the newer one runs slower just doesn't make any sense to me. Plus, Inside Story's remake releasing on a handheld that was already backwards compatible with the DS game, so you could just play the original on the 3DS, combined with the almost non-existing marketing for the game, just adding insult to injury. The series just went out in a really sad way, with nothing at all being shown for over 5 years and no brand new title for 9 years. Yet somehow we're actually getting a new game now. Mario and Luigi Brothership. The first one that's going to commit to the 3D art style entirely. Paper Jam and Dream Team sometimes showed 3D models of the Bros, but only for specific instances like the giant fights or papercraft fights. Though my biggest concern is if these guys are still going to speak ancient Italian dialect in these cutscenes.
Him, what'd he say?
I don't know, sorry.
The series looks like it's returning to its roots as well in terms of more unique NPCs and enemies. Seems like they're going for a more technology-themed world on top of the island trotting on the Brothership, with the character designs being based on plugs and outlets. Some of the villains we saw are called the Extension Core. Oh, like extension cord, huh? Nice. I'm curious if these guys, along with the others, are going to be the main threats where the game takes a similar approach to Partners in Time, where almost everything involved was with the shrooms. Games like Superstar Saga and Dream Team had big end goals, but not every boss was connected to one villain or group of villains, focusing more on individual stories area by area while not straying away from the big picture. Kind of like Thousand Year Door. Just wondering what road Brothership will follow when it comes to these plot structures. Wait a minute. Enhance. Where are his striped socks? This game's a 0 out of 10 for me now. All in all, it seems like everything people loved about Mario and Luigi will be there. The very expressive character animations, the art style, a fun battle system, and hopefully engaging story. I want to know what this guy's name is. He looks like he could be Antasma's cousin. But the big mystery here is who is actually developing this game? Is it Nintendo themselves or a different development team altogether? I've seen some people speculate the company Arzest may be behind this game, due to them working with Alpha Dream on the Bowser's Inside Story remake, specifically when it came to the giant battles. These guys also developed Yoshi's New Island on the 3DS and Mario and Sonic at the Rio Olympic Games. Pretty sure after Alpha Dream went under, a chunk of their employees still work for Nintendo or developers associated with Nintendo in some kind of capacity. Thing is, we probably aren't going to know who's behind it until right before it comes out, is my guess. Regardless, this game is looking insane. I'm seeing nothing but positive reception when it comes to this trailer, and it should be a great game to release for the end of the Switch's life cycle. If this game outsells Bowser's Inside Story along with the positive reception from fans, then there's a good chance more Mario and Luigi is out in the future, and that's a future I cannot wait to experience. Wait for me, Snoutlet! Wait for me! Huge thanks to my gold tier patrons, BFP4, Lunar, Izzy Torium, Draconis, and London Morse. You guys' support really means the world to me. Don't be a stranger to leaving a like down below if you enjoyed the video and subscribing for more content like this in the future. But for now, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.